A new farm bill. If you transform the food system, you transform everything. Written and narrated by Stephen Leslie. Part 2. Universal Base Income for Regenerative Farmers. Our best hope for survival as a species in the 21st century lies in understanding the fundamental role soil health plays in supporting all of life. This is why land caretakers who are capable of growing healthy soils as they produce food, medicine, fuel, fiber, and building materials ought to be rewarded with a living wage and benefits by society at large. Agroecological land care can cool the planet, restore biodiversity, and save humanity. But for any of that to happen, we need to understand that soil is the matrix of life, and as such, intact soil biomes are the very essence of the commons. Collectively, we need new agreements that recognize soil ecosystems as fundamental infrastructure. The wanton destruction of soil can no longer be a right of individual owners of private property or corporations. The principal way to achieve national soil health is to guarantee a universal base income to farmers, which are defined by the USDA and IRS as those who earn at least 50% of their household income from a land-based enterprise, who are willing to transition their operation to organic, regenerative, agroecological practices. In the first instance, a base income ought to be guaranteed to those farmers who are already proving they can regenerate soil and restore biodiversity. Of equal importance, a base income guarantee can be offered to conventional farmers who are willing to enroll in a verifiable soil health management systems training to assist them through transition. In 2022, in Vermont, one half of registered farm businesses were deemed unprofitable. We can't expect farmers to focus on ecological services while they have to compete to survive in the industrial global food market. Any farmer, rancher, or forest land manager willing to adopt soil health management systems can be offered a base annual payment to ensure that they and their employees can earn a living wage. This would be a simplified, direct, and non-monetized way of compensating for ecological services. The next farm bill could ramp up enrollment and payments through all relevant natural resource conservation service programs, including but not limited to EQIP, CSP, CIG, CRP, and fully fund the democratically run conservation districts to help administer them. These NRCS programs can be specifically retooled to offer preferential support to small and diversified operations. The USDA can also establish mandated annual payments to any state that adopts, through the legislative process, a soil health program. Universal base income for farmers can utilize mechanisms already in place. Payments to farmers could be a combination of direct payments for adoption of practices, along with more traditional safety net programs, first established under the New Deal of the FDR administration to create equity in the market, such as price parity for local farm products, price floors, and regional supply management of milk and other commodities, plus whole farm revenue insurance. New and beginning farmers can be offered training, affordable access to land, and access to fair credit lines. Additionally, farmers could receive assistance through social programs such as free health care and dental insurance, child care, and affordable housing subsidies. All farmers and forest land managers who are willing to adopt soil health management systems ought to qualify for UBI. This is the simplest way of compensating for ecological services. Direct payment to farmers for the adoption of soil health management systems can rely on the establishment of mean averages for soil health metrics based on comparable regional pilot operations administered by the land-grant universities. It is not practical to measure carbon sequestration and enhanced landscape function on every farm every year. Therefore, the land-grant universities ought to conduct trials and be charged with monitoring pilot farms in every conservation district watershed to establish median averages of what can be reasonably expected from the implementation of soil health management systems. Farmers will be expected to document practices. Using the nutrient management plan as a model, advisory teams can assist farmers in developing holistic plans. These plans will aim for long-term adoption of practices with commensurate long-term financial incentives and technical assistance. Field agents can do yearly farm visits and follow regular follow-ups to monitor and assist in the planning and implementation of practices. A UBI for organic regenerative farmers would ensure that small farmers don't get left behind by carbon trading schemes. Corporate carbon offset programs favor large farm operations. Instead of offering incentives for adoption of singular practices, like the Vermont Pay for Phosphorus, programs can optimize the restoration of ecological function through synergistic stacking of multiple practices. It is an affront to presume that farmers who are opting to use regenerative practices would want to be paid in carbon credits that allow polluters to keep on polluting. Carbon trading places a sole focus on payments for additionality per acre. That's the measurable accrued carbon. Additionality is the amount of carbon determined to be stored in soil or biomass as the direct result of adopting a practice or set of practices to improve soil health. This is the soft target metric used in carbon trading schemes. Our focus should not be on sequestering carbon on our farms so that we can sell offsets to polluting industries, but rather on restoring the carbon cycle. We must ensure that payments for ecological services are aimed not only at incentives for the adoption of practices, but to sustain them over the long haul and to reward the already accrued additionality of early adopters, those farmers who are already achieving soil health. The good news is that by practicing agroecology, farmers can build soil as much as 10 times faster than the processes of natural forest succession. If we as a nation are to meet our greenhouse gas emissions reductions targets as established under the passage of the 2015 Paris Climate Accords, we need to define soil health practices as the leading mechanism to solve the poly crisis. Focus on photosynthesis. Simply reducing greenhouse gas emissions won't ever be enough to mitigate the damage. Green energy solutions are an insufficient remedy to arrest the planetary overshoot of our globalized civilization. As important as such steps as energy efficiency in buildings, renewable sources of power generation, and electrified transportation fleet are, they are simply technological fixes that address the symptoms of the problem, but are no substitute for environmental repair. These green technologies are not truly renewable, they are rebuildable. The only truly renewable solutions are nature-based. As the climate crisis accelerates, environmental stresses on farms will only increase, making additionality payments less and less secure. For instance, carbon is lost from a pasture even with the best management practices during a drought. Ecologically managed forests can still burn, and yet the urgent necessity of restored and enhanced ecosystem function will only increase. Current Farm Risk Management Assessment, the RMA, subsidies awarded by the USDA reward farmers for history of past yields. We need to make soil health metrics the measure and goal of rewarding farm subsidies and insurance programs and include debt forgiveness into the equation. We also need a beyond soil health metric, a metric for climate change resiliency that includes a ranking of mitigation and adaptation capacities. What we see happening in practice within agroecology systems is that the best adaptation is also mitigation. During the COVID pandemic, we came to the realization that all our essential workers must be taken care of. Farmers are no exception. The average annual farm income in the U.S. continues to trend toward a negative value, meaning the majority of farmers have to accrue debt in order to keep on farming. According to the CDC, the suicide rate among U.S. farmers is 3.5% higher than the general population. People operating a farm under a debt load are going to be risk averse. We may tell them that regenerative practices can reduce inputs, maximize profitability while restoring critical landscape functions, but we need government, NGOs, and private investors to step up and support a just transition for these legacy farmers and to create new opportunities for land access and training to all those groups in society historically disenfranchised from the agricultural sector, including migrant laborers. In order to develop a new soil health paradigm that is truly transformational, we need to ensure that payment for ecological services is not restricted to cleaner water and carbon sequestration. We need a holistic measure of the ecological and economic benefits farmers contribute to society. We need to take into account the critical importance of biodiversity within both the soil microbiome and at the macro level of healthy farm systems. Holistic farm planning can encompass attention to all of the landscape functions of a farm or forest, recognizing how land restoration contributes to the overall health of the watershed and bioregion. As the importance of authentic, nature-based solutions gain traction as a realistic response to climate change, society will recognize and reward land caretakers who are providing invaluable ecosystem services. If soil is recognized as a public good, then perhaps society will be willing to ensure that the essential workers who steward it are fairly compensated for their labor. Going forward, we need policymakers and land managers to understand that biology is the driver of soil health and carbon sequestration. By observing how the principles of soil health are naturally achieved in forest and grassland systems and mimicking those landscape functions in their land management practices, farmers can begin to restore and augment the carbon bank. Society also needs to recognize the vital role that urban agriculture, home gardeners, and homesteaders have to play in land restoration and local food security. The land-grant universities, conservation districts, and other relevant state agencies and organic certification bodies would serve us well by ramping up outreach and technical support to these important sectors of land caretakership. Let's provide farmers with the training and incentives they need to transition to soil health management systems. We must not only reward farmers for ecological services, such as growing nutrient-dense food, providing cleaner air and water, and sequestering carbon, land caretakers who are capable of growing topsoil while providing essential agricultural products must be justly compensated in the same way that civil society supports all other essential infrastructure and basic service providers.